Hello, Helen here. Today's video is going to be making a box for the card that I made in the last video. The last time I did a boxed card, I got lots of requests asking for me to make a video on how I make them. I'm not going to post measurements because I really just do them to fit each individual card, so there's no size that's going to fit all. And I'll just show you how I do it. There's lots of other ways of making boxes, but I'm just going to show you how I do it. I'm going to use 2 sheets of cardboard for this, one for the base and one for the lid. The other tool I've got here is a clear square ruler. Now it's available here in New Zealand, and I'm not sure, it says on it that it's New Zealand made, so I'm not sure that it's available anywhere else. But the Tim Holtz ruler is very similar, with just one length of the inch markings, and it's also got 1/8 markings on it, so just the same as this one that I'm using, but it just helps me make sure everything's square and straight. Another tool I'm going to use is my Martha Stewart scoreboard. I'm going to start off by working out what depth I need the box base to be, laying the ruler to the side of the card, and I'm putting a piece of cardboard on top of the flowers just so that I can see what height I need the box to come to. So it works out to be 7/8, so that's the measurement. I'm going to start by making my first mark on an edge of the piece of card, and I'll score it at that point. So that's my first side. I can also measure the same measurement on the crossways of the card as well. So that'll be 2 sides of the card once I've done the scoring. The next thing I'm going to do is lay the card butted up to the 2 sides that I've already scored, and I'm going to work out with just a little bit extra where I'm going to do my 3rd and 4th sides. I usually allow about 1/8 of an inch extra, just so that you've got room to get into the box and lift the card out. It's not a lot, you don't want it really roomy, but it's just enough to be able to hook a nail or something in and pull the card out when the box is made up. So I'll go ahead and mark those and then score them on the scoreboard as well. And once I've got those scored, I can then lay the ruler onto those scored lines and measure 7/8 out from that, mark it, and then I'll trim the card on those last 2 sides to that point, and that should be my base measurements. And that means I've got the centre part measured out, which is just slightly bigger than the card, and the 4 sides that are 7/8 of an inch deep. I was going to start doing the trimming, but you're better off doing folds on all the scored lines, just making sure that all your folds are nice and crisp before you go back and trim on two sides along the scored edge to where the line intersects, and you do the same on the other long side. So you should have 4 cuts. These form the flaps that I'm going to glue on the inside, which is going to make the base of the box. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue, but any glue would work, and I'm also using these clips just to hold it in place while it dries. I'm just popping the card into the base of the box just to make sure it fits, and it does. So I'll just pop that aside to dry for a little bit, and I'll start on the box lid, which is another sheet of cardboard, and I'm going to do the ruling of the first 2 sides exactly the same measurements as I did with my box base. Once the first 2 sides are measured and scored, then I can just lay the base down onto the lid, butting it up into the corner of where I've just scored, and I'll just mark the 2 other points of where the box base sits, and then when I take it off I can see where I need to do the lid, and I'm going to do the measurement of the lid just about 2 to 3 millimeters from that point where I've just marked, so that it's just very slightly bigger than the base. Once I've got those 2 second sides measured and scored, I can then go back and cut them just the same as I did for the base, and I can go ahead and do the folding of the score lines. But before I start gluing the flaps, I'm going to measure out a window, just a rectangular window, the same amount distance from each of the score lines, and that's going to be the window that I can see the card through in the box lid. Doesn't matter what the measurement is, I've just picked the same measurement for all the way around, and I'll go ahead and cut that out with a metal ruler and a craft knife. Sometimes for the lids I use a larger die and cut a die shape out, something that's, you know, rather pretty in shape, and it just makes it a little bit more fancier than just the rectangle, but for this video purpose I'll just do a rectangle. I'm going to decorate the lid with some of the scrapbook paper that I used for the card. So what I'll do is just draw around the window and the outside edge of the lid, and then I'll trim the paper to fit just slightly narrower than the box lid surface. I can then go ahead and make the flaps and get the box lid ready for gluing, but before I do glue the flaps, I'm going to put a sheet of plastic on the inside of the window just to stop, you know, dust getting in on the card and things. What I use is these binding covers. They're from a stationery shop where people get them for doing reports and binding special documents. So I just buy those, but if you've got something like acetate, that would work just the same. Now I'll go back and do the trimming of the scrapbook paper to fit the top of my lid and the sides, so I make them just slightly smaller than the measurement that I'd ruled around. Now, because the top surface was quite thin strip when I cut it out, I ended up, when I was sticking it down, stretching the paper a bit, and I end up with quite a wrinkle in the corner, so I'll show you how I'm going to fix that mistake. This is where I discovered that I'd stretched the paper and I've got quite a wrinkle in the corner, but I'll go ahead and make the rest of the box up, do the gluing, and then I'll go back and decorate the box lid just to cover all that wrinkled paper, and you would never know it was there. I've also gone ahead and made some strips of the same paper that I've put on the top of the lid to do the sides. I've made them just slightly small all the way around. I've stuck double-sided tape on the back of them, and I'm just going to go around and stick them around the sides of my lid. Now that's the lid complete, and it does fit on the box nicely. Now I'll just go and gather up a few flowers and leaves, and I'm going to stick those onto the corner where the wrinkly paper is. It'll just look like I'm tying it in with the card, but really I'm hiding my little mistake. Nobody will ever know. Lastly, I'm going to just show you what I do for an insert for my cards. I usually grab a piece of coloured paper that matches, so a pink one this time. I'm going to fold the sheet of paper in half, and I'm just going to slip it into the fold point of the card, draw around the outside of the card, and then I just trim just with it slightly shorter than the trim mark. And then I'm going to use my Martha Stewart heart border punch to just punch down the edge of the insert, and then I'll just stick it in with double-sided tape. Now I usually use fine double-sided tape, and I put it on the top surface of the insert so that when you open the card, it opens up with the card and you see the writing on the inside of the card. that's the box and the card now complete. Apologies for the video being so long, but I thought with all the people that have requested the making of the box that they would want to see all the different stages of making it, so I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for staying right to the end. I'll leave the video of the card at the end of the video in case you want to check back on that if you haven't seen it already. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time for another card. Bye for now.